The Tale of Kaldor Draigo. The tale of Kaldor Draigo truly began on the world of Akralum during the demon incursion of 799.m41. Makar the Reborn had left forth a demonic army from the realm of chaos and would be satisfied with nothing less than the ruin of not only Akralum but the entire Vidar sector. It was inevitable that the Grey Knights would stand against such a threat. Together with 9 regiments of Imperial Guard and Space Marines from the Astral Knights and Flesh Tearers chapters, the Third Brotherhood of the Grey Knights, in whose ranks Draigo fought, descended upon the world. What awaited was one of the most terrible battles of that century. There can be little doubt that if the Grey Knights had not been there, Akralum would have fallen. The tide was only turned by their daring strike against Makar's warped fortress. It was here that Kaldor Draigo, a freshly ennobled battle brother, made a name for himself. It was Draigo who dealt the death blow to Makar and so cast the demonic horde back into the warp, but the demon clung to life long enough to place a vengeful curse upon his slayer.
Victory is yours this day, mortal, but know that if ever you set foot upon this world again, you and all who follow you shall walk with damnation for 10 millennia.
Victory on Akralum saw Draigo acclaimed with the rank of Justikar, the first of many such promotions. For 2 centuries, Draigo served as chapter and emperor with unfailing distinction. He earned honors and glory unsurpassed by any Grey Knight before him, save perhaps Janus himself, foremost of the founders whose deeds had shaped the Imperium in its darkest times. He became Supreme Grand Master in the early days of 901.m41, following the slaughter of the previous chapter lord at the hands of the demon Primarch Mortarion, and his first act was to carve his forebear's name upon Mortarion's rotting heart, an insult that the demon has never forgotten. 200 years to the day since Draigo's victory on Akralum, an astropathic distress beacon brought news to Titan that Akralum had been invaded by demons once again. Upon learning of this, Draigo knew without doubt that Makar had been reborn, and this was the demon prince's attempt to bring true his curse. Having so determined, Draigo gave word forbidding his chapter to involve themselves with Akralum, lest others fall prey to the doom that was his burden to bear, a duty his battle brothers bore unwillingly, though, to his knowledge, none disobeyed. Yet the world was not to be abandoned to its fate. Draigo took ship to Akralum there to meet his unfolding destiny alone. So it was that Kaldor Draigo, Lord of the Grey Knights, came once again to Akralum. Few words spake he, yet his grim purpose was plain to behold as he trod old battlefields reawakened to fresh slaughter. At the siege of the castle Gorseth, it was Draigo who unleashed the Psy flame that swept the demons away, and he who struck down the plague-rotten abomination that commanded the assault. In the Trebaran Valley, it was Draigo who held rear guard to the narrow west part of the pass, holding the Bane hordes of madness at bay, whilst Cadian 912 fell back. Survivors of the retreat recount that Draigo held that rock-strewn corridor for 2 days, never once missing a blow nor taking backward step. It would have been hard to judge which side held Lord Kaldor Draigo in the greatest dread, the demons for crippling losses he had dealt upon their kind, or the soldiers and officers of the Imperial Guard, who saw only a silent brute whose armor was slick with the blood of slain hellspawn. The confrontation between Draigo and Makar took place upon the pinnacle of Shadow Peak, before the swirling warp rift from which the Demon Prince drew his unholy power. As Imperial Guardsmen battled against the brain demon hordes, Draigo sought his enemy of old, for he knew Makar's death would end the demon's plan of conquest, just as it had so many years ago. On the edge of the rift they battled, the knight and the demon, each using every tactic at their command to break the other's guard. The battlefield rang to the sound of their titanic duel, to the clamorous strike of Nemesis' sword upon demonic blade, of silvered steel upon warped metal. The demon prince spat curses and insults at Draigo, but his words and sorceries could find no purchase. Again and again Draigo summoned the sanctifying flame, yet Makar merely laughed at the charring of his own flesh, and Draigo could not keep pace with his adversary forever. Makar's blade glowed darkly with warp flame, and he unleashed a blow mightier than any that had preceded it. The demon blade struck home with a dull crack, shattering the Nemesis sword halfway down its length and driving the Grey Knight to one knee. Makar bellowed with victory and brandished his blade for the final blow. However, Draigo was not yet spent. Roaring a battle cry of his own, he rose up from one knee and, double-handed, thrust his sword's severed stump into Makar's black heart. With that one blow, Draigo delivered a Kralim for the second time. As death throes racked Makar's body, so too did they begin to tear at the warp portal he had summoned. The rift's baleful energies began to disperse, and, one by one, the howling demons of his army faded away into nothingness. Yet, before the portal closed completely, Makar had one final act of vengeance. With his last strength, the Demon Prince cast his talons around Draigo's throat and heaved the Grey Knight into the collapsing rift. So did Kaldor Draigo pass out of the mortal world and into legend. The tale of Kaldor Draigo did not end that day, as many supposed, for he survived his passage into the realm of chaos. Lesser men would have been driven insane by their arrival in the domain of the Chaos Gods, where damnation lurks upon every path. Yet Draigo's mind had long been hardened to the madness and seductions of chaos, and he endured in this land where no other man could. For an uncounted age, Draigo wandered that terrible landscape. His path was strewn by demons fair and foul, who sought to slay him or seduce him to darkness, yet Draigo overcame them all. Atop the blood falls where the acrid ichor of Akorn's fallen champions tumbles endlessly into the void, Draigo slew the great bloodthirster Klarvoth. With cleansing fire he drove demonic taint from the beast's great axe and used the molten remains to reforge his sword, sundered in battle with Makar the Reborn so long ago. He unleashed sanctified flame again amongst the writhing jungles of Nurgle's domain, and for a long time the gusting warp winds carried only a charcoal stench and the tortured screaming of demonic vegetation. On a journey through the Whispering Meadows, 6 sisters, the chosen handmaiden of Slaanesh, sought to tempt Draigo with promises of glory, power, and all the myriad riches desired by mortal flesh and spirit, but their words could find no purchase upon his soul, and he scattered the demonettes' dismembered remains amongst the alabaster grasses. At the gates of the inevitable city, the Lord of Change Makachin offered Draigo a path homewards, but in reply, the Grey Knight smote the city walls and left the bird demon entombed against the ruins. Through such acts, and many thousands more, did Kaldor Draigo forge a new legend, but this time in a domain where legend is the stuff of life. Rarely now did demons haunt Draigo's footsteps. The Grey Knight had time and time again proved his utter resistance to corruption, and had left so many thousands of slaughtered demons in his wake that now only the most crazed of Khorne's minions continued to seek his death. That anything could exist in the realm of chaos, yet be utterly immune to the will of the Chaos Gods, was a fresh impossibility in a domain riven with the impossible. Yet, if the Dark Gods cannot vanquish Draigo, then nor could Draigo win any meaningful victory. The demons he slew inevitably returned in new bodies. Nurgle's mighty jungle regrew from the ashes, and even the tumbled walls of the inevitable city righted themselves. However, the mortal world was not yet done with the Lord Draigo. When the prophet of Justero forged an alliance with the demon Nakari, he drew a portion of the realm of chaos into the mortal world, and Draigo was drawn through along with it. So was Draigo briefly reunited with this chapter, for a brotherhood had arrived on Justero to combat Nakari's threat. Draigo was clearly long adrift in time, for he knew these warriors not, yet they embraced him as brother, and fighting side by side, they cast down the mad prophet of Justero and banished his demonic allies. Alas, Draigo's victory was the hollow one, for when the gateway closed, the Grey Knight found himself drawn back through the rift, and trapped again within the realm of chaos. He had helped bring about the deliverance of Justero, but could not save himself. Such has been Draigo's fate ever repeated since, to walk the realm of chaos for unknowable spans of time, on occasion taking his eternal battle into the mortal world for brief spans before being freshly jailed upon victory. It is hard to imagine the fortitude of character that allows Draigo to endure such hardship, yet endure it he does. He walks the realm of chaos still, continuing his eternal battle against the Chaos Gods. One day, he will return.